Hey guys, Rakan from Arm Strength and Performance, and welcome back to another tutorial video. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been looking at the squat. Now we're going to have a look at the deadlift. So part one of this video, we're looking at the hip hinge. The points we're going to cover today are the do's and the don'ts, as well as some progressive cueing, and some little tips that you can do if you can't feel a nice stretch in your back of your hamstrings. So hope you enjoy the video. First do's and don't is leaning forward instead of pushing our hips backwards. What this does is causes us to round our back in order to get sufficient depth rather than engaging our glutes and our hamstrings, pushing our hips backwards. This also causes rounding of our back and not maintaining a neutral spine. We want to make sure we have a neutral spine when we do the hip hinge. Our next one is knees traveling forward. Now what this does is disengage your glutes and hamstrings as well, but also it doesn't allow you to maintain a nice vertical bar path. As you can see, the bar will travel forward, make it such an inefficient way to do a deadlift. This progress cue that we can do is hips to wall. Now we're going to have 2 feet out from the wall. Basically what we're going to do is try to get our glutes to touch the wall. So remember, we're pushing our hips backwards to do that, maintain a nice straight spine, shins vertical, so we can maintain a nice straight vertical bar path. Second one is a tall and kneeling hinge. Okay, so this is going to remove the need for the shin angle. We're going to practice pushing our hips backwards, leaning our chest forward, making sure we keep a nice neutral spine, and only reaching our hands down to our knees. Now the third one is this rod 3-point contact. So in a hip hinge position, we want to maintain rod at this lumbar, the thoracic, and at your head. Maintain the nice neutral spine. And also we want to practice keeping that rod against those 3 points and moving your hips backwards, maintaining that nice shin angle, getting a nice stretch in your hamstrings. Now putting this all together, we can do a Romanian deadlift. Remember, pushing our hips backwards, keeping a nice neutral spine, nice vertical shins, and making sure the bar that we're holding moves in a nice vertical motion. If you're having trouble trying to feel it in your hamstrings, what you can do is anteriorly pelvic tilt your hips. This will cause a bit of an extension in your lower back. It will actually stop you from rounding your back, which is even worse, but you should be able to feel it a lot better in your hamstrings. You can also do this with your toes raised. It will cause the same stretch feeling in your hamstrings if you can't feel it during the normal hip hinge. So that was our first tutorial on the deadlift, part one of focusing on the hip hinge. Now, hopefully you found this educational, or in some ways, some of these tips have helped you improve your posture or your technique in your own hip hinge as well. And I hope to see you next week for our next tutorial.